I have a question. Is there anything more commemorable than an individual who marches to the beat of their own drum? In America, we love to idolize, or at least converse about people who are unwilling to conform to society's status quo. Sometimes, this rejection is made loud and clear, with the intention of either stirring the pot or spurring a change. However, in some cases, this rejection is silent. Every once in a while, we discover an individual who has produced brilliant art without parading it around for everyone to experience. A truly you-had-to-be-there type of act. Such was the case for the blues folk singer Karen Dalton.
Are you leaving for the country? You say the city brings you down. Leave the iron clown behind and feel the circus moving on.
Karen Dalton is one of the forgotten founders of the 1960s folk revival, and her music has been praised by the likes of Bob Dylan and Nick Cave, amongst others. However, Dalton is one of those artists whose life is damn near as interesting as her music. Her reclusive nature and small amount of musical output has created a sort of mystery around her that is worth looking into, because in more ways than one, her voice is unlike any other. Born Jean Karen Carricker on July 19th of 1937, Karen Dalton grew up in Oklahoma for much of her early life. Karen certainly got around, though. By 21, she had 2 kids and had been through 2 divorces. In the early 60s, she packed her 12-string guitar and long-neck banjo and moved to Greenwich Village in New York. It was here that she truly began her career. For those who don't know about Greenwich Village, this historic area was home to numerous creative radicals in the 50s and 60s. Industry giants like Bob Dylan and Paul Simon were known to perform cheap folk shows here as they honed their crafts. Even Jimi Hendrix performed here for a minute. She would cross paths with the likes of Bob Dylan and Tim Hardin and often perform with them at the legendary Café Wa? Dylan famously described her as having the voice of Billie Holiday and the guitar playing of Jimmy Reed. In my opinion, her voice and blues influence seem more akin to a laid-back Janis Joplin, but I digress. Dalton's career unfortunately never took off. However, as many sources say, this was pretty much her own choice. She was a recluse, and like many of us, she was more comfortable singing in a living room with a small crowd of friends than on a stage in front of strangers. She only recorded 2 albums, which featured 0 original songs. So then, why even talk about her? She doesn't have a massive impact on the public and never had her own songs. Well, there's 2 things. One, I think the beauty in her artistry is both in the songs she chose to sing and how she sung them. Her weary, crackly voice sounds so down to earth, it speaks to me somewhere deep in my soul. Her voice is like a sonic contradiction. It sounds strained and yet simultaneously comfortable. Her delivery could convince anyone that she wasn't just singing the blues, but truly living them. Her authenticity was one of one, and it shows in her limited discography. Songs like Are You Leaving for the Country and Take Me are personal favorites of mine. The melancholic and occasional bittersweet emotions derived from her strained voice and simple string arrangements are palpable. To me, Dalton is truly the epitome of everything the folk genre has to offer. That brings me to my next point, which is that Dalton's reclusive nature is, in my opinion, the mark of a true artist. Art doesn't always come from a need to impress people or make some grand statement about life or society. Art is an individual's expression, one that would manifest regardless of the people around them. To put it simply, Dalton made art for art's sake and not for any ulterior motive. To me, this just humanizes her music even more. She did have originals written, however, and she was actually quite the writer. Songs like Remembering Mountains, brought to life by Sharon Van Etten, truly capture her knack for sorrowful and bittersweet songwriting.
Now your time is your own. You'll be alone and sit in your room. Remembering mountains.
Unfortunately, later on in her life, Dalton got hooked on heroin amongst other substances, and her life began to quickly unravel. In 1993, Dalton passed away at the age of 55 from AIDS. She did so with damn near nothing. No money, no home, nothing. Just her guitar, and 2 albums containing some of the most melancholic material that post-World War II folk music has ever seen. If you're interested in her life, definitely check out In My Own Time, the documentary. It's quite beautiful, and it goes into the details about her life in New York and Colorado. She truly was a little vagabond, one could say. I'll end with a question. Who is an artist that you feel truly marches to the beat of their own drum? And why do you love them? I would love to hear the conversation.